one, and Geno Smith, like we had talked about all pregame, during the halftime show, and now in the postgame show, Geno Smith showed why he is a quarterback that showed why he was a starter in this league, why the people in Seattle, Pete Carroll, John Schneider, the general manager, why they had so much faith in Geno Smith as a quarterback is because we didn't get a chance to see him at practice last year.
Yep.
But what they were doing, I just want people to realize they traded away Russell Wilson, and this is the return that they got.
I was going to say, and Russell Wilson will be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know now. I mean, this second half
couple
of his
Super
career,
Bowls, he's been around. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe we'll see. He's probably going to have to. But you're right. That was a big swing that they took, letting him go to Denver.
Well, 100%. They let him go to Denver, and you say, well, what do they have in return? What do they get in return? Well, they've got a winning quarterback in Geno Smith, who weathered the storm today. He was without his first-string running back. He was without his second-string running back, okay? And all he did was just put the game on his shoulders. He was on the sideline. He was, I wouldn't say he was bickering back and forth, but, man, he was on his guys. We got to win this game. We got to do some things, and I give him a ton of credit. This was definitely a building moment for Geno Smith, but it kept this football team alive. They're watching the 49ers. And we can get into it when we talk NFC West, but but when the game started, Jimmy Garoppolo goes down. He's carted to the back for the 49ers with an apparent ankle injury. Well, guess what? Now we don't know what the situation is at quarterback in San Francisco. Now Seattle wins today; they take a hold of the division. It's crazy how this thing played out today. The Rams had a major opportunity to play spoiler today. But in return, the Rams clinched their first losing season under Sean McVay.
Yeah, the Seahawks move back into playoff position right now. They would be the 7th team in the NFC to get a playoff spot right now. They would be the last team in. This is an important win for them. And to kind of stay with Geno Smith for a second, and I want to kind of connect this to John Wolford as we come back around. Obviously, John Wolford didn't have nearly as much time on that final drive as Geno Smith did, but you get the sense that Geno Smith, despite not having been in this position for quite some time, having been a backup the last few seasons, there was no panic, there was no rush, there was no being sped up on that final drive. Just very matter-of-fact, understanding how to use the clock, understanding how to use his timeouts, and just put on a very impressive drive against a defense that had done a pretty good job against him today. Not great, but certainly got some pressure on him at times when you needed to do it, and when he needed to be at his best, he was.
Oh, yeah, I 100% agree with that. He was at his best. Today. There was a couple throws that probably he may have won it back, but overall he threw some lasers out there.
Yeah, he did.
It was some throws that we looked at, from hash mark to the other hash mark. That game-winning touchdown throw to DK Metcalf, come on now. Everybody's right there in cover. Jalen Ramsey is right there in cover. It's a laser. That was a laser by Geno Smith. And it just goes to show you how you can probably try to count someone out. I think that's what he said. What was his quote earlier in the season? They counted me out. Oh, no, they counted me out, but I didn't count back.
I like it.
They wrote me off.
Yeah, but I didn't write back. There you go. Well, no, he's in a great spot as well. Let's talk a little bit about what we saw from the Rams' perspective today. I thought that the drive that they put together to take the lead, knowing that there was at least a chance that it could be a potential game-winning drive at that point, a 9-play, 75-yard drive caps it with Cam Akers running into the end zone for the second time today. It was about as good of a drive as we've seen from the Rams all season long, other than some opening drives to open up some games with the scripted series. This was, you needed it. You didn't have a ton of playmakers along the way, and John Wolford, that offensive line, the Rams offensive players, found a way to go on a must-have-it drive, and they got it.
Yeah, they got that must just go out and go do it.
Yep.
Right? This was probably the best I've seen efficiency that their drive has been. I think that you saw elements of the offense, especially when they needed it, from John Wolford, right? He was bootlegging right. He was bootlegging left. He always seemed to have a plan when he had the football in his hands, right? He threw the ball away when needed. Now, he did throw one in the air that I didn't like. Obviously, it was intercepted. But to me, I thought overall the offense looked in better hands with John Wolford than it did in the previous couple weeks with Bryce Perkins. Remember, no Matthew Stafford. He is on IR. So these quarterbacks are what you're going to have to work with. And John Wolford proved that he can be the quarterback for right now as the Rams go down the stretch and try to win a couple more ball games.
He looked like he looked a couple of seasons ago
Yeah.
when we got to see him. When we saw him play against Arizona a few weeks ago, he did not look like he looked tonight. He looked a little uncomfortable. He looked like he was sped up a little bit.
He looked like his lone playoff start.
That's exactly what it looked like. He looked comfortable in the spot. Again, he's not going to light it up through the air, but he made some plays with his legs. He picked up a big fourth down conversion on that drive towards the end of the game. He made some nice throws, some not so nice throws along the way, but this looked like somebody who had a pretty good feel for the offense he was running. I don't think I would have said the same thing about him 3 or 4 weeks ago.
No, not at all. I think it was a little bit better, but I think because Sean McVay was allowing himself to say, you know what, I got to call something different. He called different plays. It wasn't just John Walford. It was Kyron Williams. I saw a different Cam Akers today. I saw Tutu Atwell and Brandon Powell involved in the run game. This was a very diverse rushing attack for the Rams where they didn't have one single rusher who rushed for a ton of yards. But, man, you talk about a
171 yards.
You talk about a group project that they got an A on?
Yeah.
They may have lost the game, but they got an A in certain areas of this football game. That is one. Everyone does these report cards. How they do in the rushing game or the passing game, special teams. They did well on offense when it came to the rushing attack.
Why? Why was today the day where all of a sudden they were able to move the ball on the ground? Because you're right. It wasn't as weird as it is. The Rams have played 12 games so far this season. They still have not had a single running back go over 65 yards for a game. But today, from a collective perspective, was very successful. 171 yards for the Rams as a team. You saw Cam Akers got 60. Brandon Powell had another 45. Wolford chipped in 29. Tutu with 23 more. Why were they so successful today there?
I think it was the creativity, though. A lot of it was jet fly motions and sweeps and a lot of smoke and mirrors, a lot of end-around looks, to kind of throw off the defense of Seattle, right? You had guys who were in the back end or who were on the defensive front who were also having to play bootlegs, right, from John Walford. He was an element of the run game today that forced defenders to have to make sure he didn't have the football in his hand. I thought on the crucial drive for the Rams, the go-ahead drive at the end of the game, for them, was a critical 4th and 1 in how they get the first down. It was John Walford on the bootlegs. That's where the creativity in the run game to make the defense have to, for a half a second or a half a beat, just to make sure. That's where I thought the running game was. And in the vision of the running backs, Cam Akers showed extremely good vision. But then when he got near the goal line, he showed the power. So I saw all 3 different elements from Cam Akers. Saw the speed, the vision, and the power today. And his best game of the season by far.
Best game of the season by far, too. I think we'd have to say Bobby Wagner. Let's talk about him when he came back because he balled out today against his former teammates. He was absolutely spectacular. More of your phone calls coming up as well. 877-710-ESPN, 877-710-3776, all that. Plus, we'll hear from Coach Sean McVay coming up next on the Coors Light postgame show on the ESPNLA Rams Radio Network. Hey, Rams fans, Travis Rogers here. You have got to get the new ESPNLA app. In fact, let's go down to the locker room and get a little help.
What's up, Rams fans? This is Matthew Stafford. React to the Rams on the new ESPNLA app.
This is Cooper Kupp of the Los Angeles Rams. Listen to all your Rams talk on the ESPNLA app.
You are just one tap away from Rams All Access. Travis and Slee, Mason and Ireland, and Sedano and Cap. Download it now on the App Store or Google Play.
$710 ESPN is giving you a chance to win $1 million.
$1 Million Mondays.
$1 Million Mondays. Listen every Monday during football season to Travis and Sliwa, Mason and Ireland, and Sedano and Cap. All you have to do is make a super prediction.
And you can win $1 million.
And you can score tickets to a game at SoFi for just playing on $1 Million Mondays.
$1 Million Mondays.
710 ESPN. listening to the Coors Light postgame show
On the ESPN LA Rams radio network.
Great backdrop, pocket crumbling. Seahawks bury Wolford inside the 20. Darrell Taylor, who was shaken up earlier in this fourth quarter with a sack of -6, 31 seconds, and a timeout burned here.
And the losing continues. The Rams drop to the Seahawks today at SoFi. That is 6 straight losses as McVay's squad slips to 3-9.
This is the Coors Light postgame show, live at Hollywood Park Casino.
Hollywood Park Casino. Elevate your game.
Hi, this is Sean McVay of your LA Rams.
The Rams play here.
Leave it all on the field. 1, 2, 3. Leave it all here.
We get you closer to all that went down right now on the Coors Light postgame show.
Coors Light.
Keeping Southern California chill all season long.
The Coors Light postgame show.
Here's Travis Rogers and Kirk Morrison.
27-23, the final score from SoFi Stadium. The Rams narrowly fall to the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks score late in the fourth quarter. They go on a long drive, Kirk, with about 3 minutes to go. Only leave the Rams about 30 seconds or so on the backside. They get their 7th win of the season. The Rams have lost 6 in a row. They are at 3-9. If you'd like to get in and talk about what you saw on today's game, 877-710-ESPN is the phone number. Let me give it to you again, 877-710-3776. Let's go to Shay, who's still inside SoFi. Shay, what's going on?
Hey, guys. First-time caller, long-time listener. I want to say 2 quick things today. First of all, I think I've had enough of Jalen Ramsey. I love the fire, but all he did today was got under DK's skin, fired him up, and DK made him pay. The other thing I want to say is, I got to say, Rams fans, I hope people are listening on the way home. Everybody's yelling when the Rams are on offense. That's not what we're supposed to do. The Rams fans do not understand. On offense, we should be quiet. We should be loud on defense. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
All right, Shay. Jalen Ramsey, of course, was in coverage on DK at the on the game-winning touchdown pass right there. Jalen is Jalen. Jalen is an emotional player. Jalen is going to continue to play the way that he does, and he's Jalen Ramsey. You're going to get what you get, and most of that means you're going to get a really good football player.
Yeah, and look, that's just how he plays the game. He plays the game, obviously, animated. He plays the game, with a lot of flavor, with a lot of juice, a lot of energy. And, look, just be honest, DK Metcalf had the last laugh. That's just how it is in this league. And good corners are going to get beat. And he got beat. To me, got a little lazy at the top of the route. And just be honest, Geno Smith threw a hell of a pass. And that pass was one in which, I thought that, should Jalen Ramsey been locked in and knock it away, that would have been a little bit better. As far as the other thing, I feel like Rams fans are trying to drown out the Seahawks fans. Okay, because the Seahawks fans are really, really loud.
Yeah, they are.
And when you're as loud, I think the Rams fans are trying to drown out the Seahawks fans who are there. And maybe you also don't understand the mixture of the Seahawks fans who are just as loud, right? The Seahawks fans are loud as if they're back over at Lumen Stadium up there in Seattle trying to be loud for their team on defense. So you get a good mix of that. And, look, that's always going to be the case here at SoFi Stadium. When you build a beautiful stadium like this in Los Angeles, this is just part of what happens, right?
I couldn't agree more that this is going to be the way that it is. There are going to be fans of the opposing team in that building pretty regularly.
Correct.
The Rams fans that are at SoFi are very loud. They're very vocal. They're great Rams fans. But this is just the reality of what it is to play football here. And that's, hopefully over time it starts to get a little bit less and less, but that's just the way that it's going to be for a little bit at least. All right, let's try another one here. Let's go to Los Angeles and Brian. Brian, you're on with Travis and Kirk on the Coors Light postgame show. What's up?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I'm glad to go after the last caller because I was at the game, and I was really impressed with our crowd today.
So was I.
Yeah. I'm leaving this game without a sick feeling in my stomach that I've been having throughout the whole season. And it leaves me with a lot of hope. And it's like you took out our stars, and today I felt like we played like a team finally.
Yeah,
I wonder what you guys' take is on that.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Appreciate the phone call. I said this to you during the pregame show, Kirk, and it's just pro sports. You don't want to talk about moral victories and all these things. But
right.
I think that today was a very good representation of what we talked about, which was this team shows up and competes. Yes, they're going to have their first ever losing season. Yes, they are 3-9. They haven't won a game since their bye week. They've lost 6 in a row. That nothing that has gone your way really since opening night when you got your rings, right? That's about it. But they went out there and competed like a playoff spot was on the line. They went out there and fought for 4 quarters and came up a little bit short. I know it sucks to lose games, to be sure, but you can feel pretty good about the way that the Rams went out and not only played, but the way that they competed.
Yeah, you mentioned they played without their stars, but yet they played their best game of the year.
Yeah.
I think offensively, defensively, this was one of those situations where I looked at and I said offensively, it started with their first drive. They drove down and did what? They scored a touchdown. They ran the ball well. You heard names that I hadn't heard all year long. So it was that aspect of the game that I really, really enjoyed watching. I saw it inspired defense. Now they gave up some big plays, but you remember you had some pieces in there. That defense was without Aaron Donald.
Yep.
Okay, that's a major piece.
And A'Shawn Robinson.
Right? That's a major piece on the defense.
No, Troy Hill. There's 3
Troy Hill,
starters.
their corner. So that's 3 legitimate starters that you were down today. And yet you had some young guys who made some big plays. You had, obviously, Bobby Wagner was the player of the game defensively.
No,
he was, if you ask me who was the best Ram today, the best Ram was Bobby Wagner. I thought the team played off of him and his energy. And so, yes, I think there is a lot of poise or a lot of pride that you can have when it comes to the way that the Rams played today. I said, okay, this is a little bit different. Yeah, this is a little bit different because I thought that, and we talked about this in the pregame, where I've been in that sort of revenge game. You're playing against your old team, and you bring a different attitude, a different energy, a different, I think, level of expectation, and your guys around you start to feel that.
For sure.
Mauricio Jones-Drew will always remember that because they know the player wants it so bad. And you're like, man, I want to give him that satisfaction. I want to help him get that feeling. And you knew it became to a point during that game. You're watching it. It was Bobby Wagner versus the Seahawks. I mean, he's animated toward that sideline. You just hope that the Rams could have pulled it off, but they didn't. But they showed a lot of fight. I think you walk out of that stadium today, not with your head down, saying, oh, here we go again. But, wow, that team that team fought. But more importantly, they put on a show.
Yes. That was a compelling, entertaining product today. That it had, for the last couple of weeks or even beyond that, it really hasn't been that. I want to stay with Bobby Wagner for a second today. He was just brilliant. He had 2 sacks. He had an interception. He had, I want to say, 3 or 4 tackles for loss along the way. He wasn't just a good player playing well. This was a great player exceeding expectations. And you can tell, like you said a minute ago, this is somebody that's dialing something up because I have something to prove to you guys. You guys didn't want me anymore. I'm going to show you what you're missing out. And you're really short of winning the game. There really couldn't be too many other things you'd be asking for at this point.
No, not at all. I mean, think about it. Your best player, one of your leaders on your team, one of your team captains is playing as hard as he is. That's the effort. We're saying, where will the Rams find the effort? They're not playing for anything. They clinched a losing record. They will not be over 500 this year. So where are you going to find the energy? Where are you going to find the will, the want to? Well, look no further than number 45, wearing that Rams jersey today. He went out and played as hard as he could. And obviously there's added motivation, but he played hard, and I thought that his teammates backed him up. We saw some outstanding performances from other players. Michael Hoyt got his opportunity today. He made plays today, right? You saw Jacoby Durant making a play at the end. You saw, Rashees making a big hit. Now, I wish he would have, kept his head up on one of those, but you saw some of the future Rams that have major roles on this team as they continue to develop. So you're seeing what it could be. I would also say this. For the 13th different time, and I'm talking, 13th different time along that offense. It was 12th time. I'm sorry, number
13 weeks, 12 games.
13 weeks, 12 games. That offensive line held up for the most part.
It was fine.
It was fine.
Yeah, it wasn't great, but it
wasn't
was
great,
good
but it wasn't
enough to win the game.
It's been. Yes, it was good enough to win the game. That's a great point of how you should say it. The offensive line has had 12 different lineups or 12 different
permutations.
It hasn't been the same 12 or it's the same 5 12 weeks in a row. It has been different every single week. And so today was the first time I looked, and I'm saying it wasn't that. Now, maybe it had something to do with the quarterback.
Yep.
Because he didn't stand in the pocket as much. Sean McVay did a good job of moving him. But I do walk away from leaving SoFi, and I'm watching all the fans now file into here with a little bit of rain out there. So a lot of people coming over to the Hollywood Park Casino. So if you're listening, come on over to the casino. We'll be here for a while hanging out and talking this game. But I walk away feeling how a lot of people feel when they go to a venue in Los Angeles. I walked away entertained, wanting more.
No, they put together their best game. It was a losing effort, unfortunately, but there was an effort, and it was exciting, and they just barely missed it. 27-23, the final score. The Seahawks beat the Rams. We're going to hear from the head coach, Sean McVay, when we come back on the Coors Light postgame show on the ESPNLA Rams radio. Hey, Rams fans, Travis Rogers here. You have got to get the new ESPNLA app. In fact, let's go down to the locker room and get a little help.
What's up, Rams fans? This is Matthew Stafford. React to the Rams on the new ESPNLA app.
This is Cooper Kupp of the Los Angeles Rams. Listen to all your Rams talk on the ESPNLA app.
You are just one tap away from Rams All Access. Travis and Slee, Mason and Ireland, and Sedano and Cap. Download it now on the App Store or Google Play.
710 ESPN is giving you a chance to win $1 million.
$1 Million Mondays.
$1 Million Mondays. Listen every Monday during football season to Travis and Sliwa, Mason and Ireland, and Sedano and Cap. All you have to do is make a super prediction.
And you can win $1 million.
And you can score tickets to a game at SoFi for just playing on $1 Million Mondays.
$1 Million Mondays.
710 ESPN.
To 23, the final score from SoFi Stadium. The Seahawks beat the Rams. The Rams will have their first ever losing season under head coach Sean McVay. That became official with their 9th loss of the season. They are currently 3-9. And Kirk, I know that this is the NFL. I know that everybody's good. I know that one season is never the same as the next season. But
correct.
If you would have told me that the Rams were going to have a 6-game losing streak at some point this season, I would have had to have guessed a million different things went wrong, and I guess that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah, that's what's happened because of injuries. Let's just be real. I think it's hard to start trying to put a understanding of why is this Rams team so bad this year.
Yeah.
I mean, injuries. And it should never be an excuse, but it's the reason why this team is so bad. Right now, we are at what we usually call the heart of the season.
Yep.
Like, this is what separates,
this is when it gets real. From
the
now until the
contenders from
finish line.
pretenders, right? Everywhere, all across the league, you're seeing it. The good teams find a way. Bad teams, you know who they are by this week. But since Sean McVay's been the head coach, it always has been about December. Last year, Rams didn't win a game in November.
Right.
We talked about that. And it was about what they did in December and in January, and obviously the coronation in February. So right now, as you sit in what is the most crucial month in the National Football League, December, the Rams are without their starting quarterback, the Super Bowl MVP, Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, A'Shaun Robinson, also without today Aaron Donald. Those are called injuries. Those are your primary players. I would love to know another team out there who can sustain the injuries that the Rams had and still be successful in, I think, a more competitive NFC West than we probably expected before the season started. Before the season started, it was about the Rams. It was about the 49ers. Seattle,
maybe a little Arizona.
A little Arizona,
yeah.
And then Seattle. But yet it's completely flipped because San Francisco, obviously right where we kind of thought, but they're now hitting injury. They lost their starting quarterback, but maybe the backup, Jimmy Garoppolo, really wasn't the backup. That's totally
They could be on their third quarterback by the time they get to play next Sunday.
But there's a belief in Seattle, and Seattle is playing their game. They're finding a way to win. Think about it. They lost last week in overtime. So they are battle-tested, okay? I look at the Rams, and this year it is a Super Bowl hangover. It really is. I saw it with the Lakers after they won their championship a couple years ago. The following season, we expected the Lakers to try to maybe repeat. Mm-hmm. And I know it was something about the whole Disney, the bubble championship, but this was still a good basketball team. And you saw how difficult it is to win the next season. Same thing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They won the previous season. Rams took them out.
Hey, it's been 20 years since somebody's gone back-to-back, and it's going to be another season next year because the Rams are not going to win it this year. That's not how it goes.
Well, only team right now that's saving face maybe is Georgia.
Yeah.
Okay? All right, now the University of Georgia, the Bulldogs, they may win back-to-back. So that's the only team right now. Quick, I had to go to the college ranks.
We'll take a quick diversion here. Is anybody, when you look at what's left, you look at Ohio State, Michigan, and TCU, is anybody good enough to beat that Georgia team? Because really, the fact of the matter is, no one's even played them close, correct? They've just smashed everybody they've run into.
That's the funny part, right? I keep talking about how hard it is to repeat as champions, but I think maybe it's because it's the college level.
Yeah.
Right? When you're talking about salary caps and professional sports, it's a little bit different. And I think Sean McVay and his coaching staff and the players, they realize how difficult it is. But still, man, they played hard today. They played physical. They played tough. And I think that's you tip the cap to that performance.
Indeed. The Rams lose 27-23. Here's the head coach, Sean McVay, with J.B. Long.
Back at SoFi Stadium, where the Seattle Seahawks defeat the Los Angeles Rams 27-23, a game that was played entirely within one possession.
Yeah.
Let's go down to the locker room and check in with the head coach of your Los Angeles Rams, Sean McVay. What'd you make of tonight's contest?
It's the crazy thing about sports. I'm so impressed with the mindset, the mentality of this team, the way they continue to compete. We had our chances, so many great performances by guys, so much guts that was displayed, and we just came up short. And man, you learn a lot about yourself when you go through these types of things. But I'm grateful to be going through this with these guys, and looking forward to quick turnaround and seeing if we can build on this for Thursday. But that was a tough one. Proud of this group. We want to compete to expect to try to win, but there's a lot of things. These guys are getting better. We're learning, and it's tough, but I'm not afraid to put myself out there every single week to do the best you can for these players, and I'm really grateful for what they gave us today, even though we came up a little short.
I mean, both sides of the ball, Coach, you had great effort, but what was it on offense to kind of get things going? The first drive, you go down and score. The last drive before, obviously, the Seahawks scored, you go down and score as well. What did you see this week, and how did you guys attack the Seahawks?
I think the way the guys are just continuing to prepare, Mo. If you work, you get better, you get worse. Taking steps in the right direction. I saw just some real positives, some things that we can build on, and that's the goal. That's always the goal, and we're going to continue to focus on those things. But this one is it's a tough pill to swallow.
And finally, I know you would have loved to have given Bobby Wagner a game ball in the locker room tonight. It doesn't happen. There's still another chance to do it up in Seattle. But what can you say about the game he put on display tonight?
Amazing. And then this guy's steadiness, his consistency, his leadership. He is such a special person and player. And that was tough because you wanted to be able to do that because he played well enough for us to be able to get it done today.
Thank you, Sean. We'll see you Thursday.
All right, thanks.
All right, that's JB Long with the head coach, Sean McVay, right there. And obviously, still a different Sean McVay than we're used to hearing after games. But this did feel a little bit different, Kirk, just talking about the effort and talking about how close they came, because this is really the first time they've been in a game in quite some time.
Yeah, it wasn't as quick as he normally is.
Right.
Okay, guys. It's not that way. You know what I mean? That's the quick Sean McVay. This was, you could tell his team played hard. His team played well enough to win the game. And at some point, a coach knows we just don't have it this year. And he knows that. He realizes that. But there's a lot of fight. There was a lot of things that he'll correct. But I think there's some things that, for the most part, you walk away – not saying that you're satisfied, but you're comfortable with moving on from after this game. We had our opportunities, we had our chances, and we did the best that we could. Hey, if they're big guys were playing, their big guns, their starters, I think the Rams win this game. Okay, you add in Aaron Donald, you add in Matthew Stafford, you add in obviously Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson. I mean, come on, man, the Rams win this game. So I think that's where Sean McVay can sleep tonight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Knowing that this probably would have had a different outcome had he had the guys available to him.
All right, I want to talk some more about John Wolford in just a bit, but when we come back, Kirk, I want to talk about the NFC playoff picture because it just got drastically different in the last few minutes or so. That's coming up next on the Coors Light postgame show on the ESPNLA Rams Radio Network. Hey, Rams fans, Travis Rogers here. You have got to get the new ESPNLA app. In fact, let's go down to the locker room and get a little help.
What's up, Rams fans? This is Matthew Stafford. React to the Rams on the new ESPNLA app.
This is Cooper Kupp of the Los Angeles Rams. Listen to all your Rams talk on the ESPNLA app.
You are just one tap away from Rams All Access. Travis and Slee, Mason and Ireland, and Sedano and Cap. Download it now on the App Store or Google Play.
710 ESPN is giving you a chance to win $1 million.
$1 Million Mondays.
$1 Million Mondays. Listen every Monday during football season to Travis and Sliwa, Mason and Ireland, and Sedano and Cap. All you have to do is make a super prediction.
And you can win $1 million.
And you can score tickets to a game at SoFi for just playing on $1 Million Mondays.
$1 Million Mondays.
710 ESPN.
at SoFi today. The Rams took a 23-20 lead. Kirk with just under 3 minutes to go. Cam Akers goes in for his first multiple touchdown game on the ground to give them a 3-point lead. They got over 20 points for the first time, ready for this, since week 2.
Oh, wow.
In the NFL season. They'd gotten 220 one time, but everything looked like it was breaking their way, and then Geno Smith drives the field, scores, and the Seahawks beat the Rams 27-23. The Seahawks in the playoff picture as of today. San Francisco still on top of the division of the NFC West with their win today against the Miami Dolphins, but word just came down a little bit while ago. Jimmy Garoppolo is out for the season with a broken bone in his foot. So you and I were watching it as it happened, Kirk. It looked pretty bad. It was one of those that you saw, you're like, yeah, that's bad news. He's done for the year. We know that Trey Lance is done for the year. So who is the 49er quarterback moving forward? Well, at this point, it is none other than Brock Purdy, who is a 7th-round pick out of Iowa State. He is a rookie this season.
Yeah.
Did okay today.
Right.
He actually went in there and did a pretty good job, but I would imagine the 49ers are going to be on the quarterback market here very, very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, they're already looking right now. It's so Trey Lance, their quarterback to start the season, out for the year. And then now the backup, or should have been the starter, Jimmy Garoppolo, out for the year. Brock Purdy was their 7th-round pick this year, rookie out of Iowa State. Outstanding player out of Iowa State, by the way. He finished this football game. On their practice squad currently is Jacob Eason. Remember that?
Oh, sure.
Remember that name. That's
sure.
Another quarterback, formerly of Georgia as well. Ended up finishing his career up at Washington. And so now they know that they have to bring someone in. Guess what? It's too late to make trades.
Right.
Trade deadline is over. And I've seen people talk about this, that they should extend the trade deadline. Instead of the middle of the season, they said you should have it at least by week 13.
Okay.
Just because.
For situations like this?
For situations, not necessarily like this, but by December, you know if you're in it or you're out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's, in the middle of November, everybody kind of feels like they're in it, but you just don't know. You'll get more sellers
sure.
by December. Because right now, I'll tell you this, Rams would have been having a fire sale last couple of weeks. And everybody's missing out. So they should have it, I think it's the first Tuesday first Tuesday in December. That's what they should start doing. But
Brock Purdy, again, Kirk, the rookie out of Iowa State, comes in relief of Jimmy Garoppolo today after Garoppolo broke his foot very early in the game. Jimmy Garoppolo had only attempted 4 passes at that point. Brock Purdy came in. It's not like they had him just turn around and hand it off all day long. He threw 37 passes.
Yes.
He had 37 attempts, 25 completions, couple of touchdowns, 1 interception. He was sacked 3 times. As far as a guy that's never really played any meaningful NFL football, that's not a bad debut considering they're going up against a Miami team that's one of the better teams in the league.
True. But they also have the number 1 defense in the league, too.
Yeah.
That 49er defense is tough. They are tough, and they made it tough for Tua today. They made Tua definitely have to scratch his head a couple times. Tua threw how many interceptions
2
today? 2? Yeah, 2 interceptions. Costly interceptions for the football team, but that does now, not only does it shake up the NFC West
I was going to say, what is it? So all of a sudden Minnesota and Philadelphia and Dallas feel like one of the other teams in the mix that was not just one of, but maybe number 2 behind Philadelphia, arguably.
Right.
All of it with a third-string quarterback. They're not that anymore.
I had the San Francisco 49ers as the best team in the NFC.
Sure.
And that wasn't just blowing smoke. Yeah, the record may not have been where people would say, well, how are they the best team? I'm looking and assessing the 49ers after Christian McCaffrey was traded. When he came to the 49ers, I said, well, that's the best team in the NFC. Tell me why not. I know Philadelphia is there. Trust me, I know about Minnesota, but Minnesota's played way, way too many close games. Another close one today. If the New York Jets is able to punch that ball in, it's a different ball game. They could have lost today. So I was all in with the 49ers, and now trust me, I know my Bay Area brethren, my Bay Area people up north in Northern California, they are panicking because this was a team that people were starting to look for hotels over in Glendale, Arizona. And now,
times.
Make sure you got you have refundable. It was all refundable.
All right, let's pause 10 seconds for stations to identify themselves on the ESPNLA Rams. Hey, Rams fans, Travis Rogers here. You have got to get the new ESPNLA app. In fact, let's go down to the locker room. Tony, you're on with Travis Kirk on the Coors Light postgame show. What's up, Tony?
Yeah, hi.
Thanks for taking me on the show.
Sure.
Wolford, to me, he's not an NFL quarterback. And I think shame on the Rams to realize that they're in the situation. They put themselves in this situation. I guess they thought they could get on the cheap for a backup quarterback. But this guy does not have it. I'm sorry. If he was out there, I'm sure the 49ers would not even take a glance at this guy. Other than that, it's kind of frustrating because he left a lot of plays out there. We should have won that game.
Appreciate the phone call, Tony. Look, it's one of these things, Kirk, that I get it, the frustration with the backup quarterback. And John Wolford's numbers were, they were okay. 14
Decent.
out of 26 for 178 yards, no touchdowns, couple of interceptions. Fact of the matter is he hasn't played very much. And to Tony's point, the Rams have spent their money elsewhere. They're not going to do what the Raiders did a couple of years ago and pay $8 million for a backup quarterback to Marcus Mariota like that. John Wolford did a lot. Look, the Rams, you and I have been talking about this. I think this is the best game they've played all season long, and I think John Wolford gets some ownership in that not because he's going to dice you up through the air, but because he can create some things with his feet, because those boots that they do to both sides, he seems pretty comfortable with those. And we saw in a big play in the fourth down in the fourth quarter where the Rams went for it from about midfield, and it was because John Wolford's fast enough to get that, around that corner and fast enough to pick up that extra yards. Is he a guy that's just going to go back in the pocket and dice you up? No. But can he make some plays? I think he can.
Yeah, remember, your backup quarterback, and this is my philosophy always, the backup quarterback is a guy who can go in a game and not mess it up. His job isn't to go and win the game, okay? Because if his job is going to win the game, he should be playing somewhere else. His job is to come in and not lose the game. His job is to come in and right the ship until the starter can come back. And you look around the National Football League, that is usually what the backup quarterback is intended to do. Now, if there's a backup situation where we're just talking about the Jets, where the backup quarterback is coming in because he clearly can play better than the starter, that's a totally different story. When you have a true backup who knows his role, this is what happens. I'll even go a step further because we saw this a couple weeks ago. The Rams played against the Arizona Cardinals. Colt McCoy is a backup quarterback in the NFL right now. He's been in here for a long time. Chase Daniel, backup quarterback in the National Football League, very long time for the Chargers right here in Los Angeles. They come into the game to not only keep calm, don't mess it up, but they can run the offense efficiently. They can get guys lined up. They are an extension of the coaching staff on the field. That's what the backup quarterback is in the NFL. You're not having them come in and say, I need you to throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's just not the case.
No, it's not going to be the way that one goes with that particular player. Look, a year from now, 2 years from now, a little bit more experience. And, when the Rams had Blake Bortles a few years ago, this is another guy that was a long-time starter in the league and, had some success here in Jacksonville. And I think the expectations for a player like that are a little different than a player like Wolford, who really has not played any NFL football, in relief duty here and there. Today, really, Kirk, if you stop and think of it, it's really only his 3rd NFL start. When you kind of go through everything that he's done, I thought he did. Was it great? No. Did he make a couple of mistakes? Yeah, for sure. But he certainly gave them enough of a performance where they could have won that game. They gave the ball back to Geno Smith with a little too much time. And he went down there and did what good players do. He had a long drive. He found DK Metcalf in the end zone, and the Rams are losers for the 6th time in a row.
Yeah, that's just part of it, right? And you never know when you need your backup quarterback, right? Think about your concern of the only time you're thinking about your backup quarterback is if your starter gets hurt. Yeah. No one cares about the backup quarterback. Put it like this. The starting quarterback right now currently for the 49ers is Mr. Irrelevant. just want to put it out there.
Yeah.
The last guy taken in the draft.
Was he the last pick?
Maybe the most important player for the season of the National Football League.
On a team that has Super Bowl aspirations. This is not just a team trying to sneak into it. They're a team playing. The Rams have a very, very short week. They were right back here on Thursday night against the Las Vegas Raiders. We'll get into that one next on the Coors Light postgame show on the ESPNLA Rams Radio Network. Hey, Rams fans, Travis Rogers here. You have got to get the new ESPNLA app. In fact, let's go down to the locker room and get a little help.
What's up, Rams fans? This is Matthew Stafford. React to the Rams on the new ESPNLA app.
This is Cooper Kupp of the Los Angeles Rams. Listen to all your Rams talk on the ESPNLA app.
You are just one tap away from Rams All Access. Travis and Slee, Mason and Ireland, and Sedano and Cap. Download it now on the App Store or Google Play.
$710 ESPN is giving you a chance to win $1 million.
$1 Million Mondays.
$1 Million Mondays. Listen every Monday during football season to Travis and Sliwa, Mason and Ireland, and Sedano and Cap. All you have to do is make a super prediction.
And you can win $1 million.
And you can score tickets to a game at SoFi for just playing on $1 Million Mondays.
$1 Million Mondays.
710 ESPN. Live at Hollywood Park Casino.
Hollywood Park Casino. Elevate your game.
Hi, this is Sean McVay of your LA Rams.
The Rams play here.
Leave it all on the field. 1, 2, 3. Put it all here.
We get you closer to all that went down right now on the Coors Light postgame show.
Coors Light.
Keeping Southern California chill all season long.
The Coors Light postgame show.
Here's Travis Rogers and Kirk Morrison.
27-23, the final score from SoFi. The Seahawks beat the Rams, and everything you just heard right there, Kirk, about 6 losses in a row. They are 3-9. That is all accurate and true, but it is still no less hard to believe that for the first time since Sean McVay has been an NFL head coach, he's going to finish the season with a losing record.
Yeah, that's his first time. And this is a difficult one, too, because I think that he never really had his full deck, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one thing as a coach, and you say, you know what, I had my guys, I had my players. We just didn't play well this year. I will take that loss on the season. Sean McVay had guys missing throughout the year. I don't think, as I look through, just coaches that have won the Super Bowl in the year after, I don't know if I've seen a team like this, right? You usually have a lot of guys coming back, and everybody wants to run it back. And it's just been a drastic change from the way that the season ended to where they are now.
Yeah, where they are right now is 3-9 and a short week with the Raiders coming up.
No Von Miller right now.
Yep.
He's not available even for the Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
Odell Beckham still not available. So even the guys who were a part of that run last year are not even available. So this is the cost of doing business when it comes to winning a Super Bowl.
It sure is. All right, so obviously it's time for our player of the game, brought to you by Verizon, the network America relies on. Kirk, it's got to be Bobby Wagner, right? An interception, a pair of sacks, 3 tackles for losses, and Bobby Wagner was all over the field today.
Yeah, he was all over the field. It was a fun game for him. I know the emotions that go through your mind going against a team that decided to release you. They didn't even trade him. He was released. That your services are no longer needed. I still have my letter that your services or your play is no longer needed. We will move on.
It's a tough letter to get.
It's a tough letter, yeah.
You've
been relieved of your duties. It's like, wow, okay. Had to read that one. That was tough. But it makes you a tougher person. But you never forget. And you're going to go up against that team, and you're going to go out there and take care of business, and that is what Bobby Wagner did today. He played with his heart and his emotion, and probably had one of his better statistical games, right? He had tackles, he had interceptions, he had sacks, tackles for loss, and I think it was just a fun game to go up against a lot of guys that you spent a ton of time with. You know, think about the majority, all of his career was in Seattle.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a fabric of not only what they built. They built a Super Bowl champion. It was his draft class. I believe it was the 2012 draft class, I believe, that changed Seattle forever. Right? It was
put him in a couple of Super Bowls, won a Super Bowl.
It was the Legion of Boom.
Yep.
And he was the anchor of that defense. And so they'll always have that. And it just goes to show how difficult it is to repeat as a champion. He saw that. He knows that.
He was all over the field tonight. An incredible amount of energy. It would have been so amazing to see him get that win. And because the team obviously is struggling this year, but to get that win against that team, like we talked with JB during the pregame show, and he mentioned it again as he was wrapping up that hopefully Bobby Wagner's still available to play by the time they go up there Week 18 and get the reception that I'm sure is waiting for him up at Lumen Field in Seattle. They're going to be very happy to see one of the guys, like you said, Kirk, that changed the direction of their franchise.
Yeah, I think so. I think that they've got, I want to see that tribute to him, to see, what he's meant to Seattle. I think that people know, and hopefully they mend the fences. I didn't get a chance to see how the interaction was after the game, but I think there is a ton of respect for what Bobby Wagner did. But it is tough business. A lot of organizations have to have the tough decisions. I think Green Bay will have one coming up. I
was going to say, the Rams are not far away from those tough decisions coming their way as well, especially when you're going through a season like this one. Here's Bobby Wagner speaking with the media after the game.
And we saw some emotion from you throughout the game. Can you talk about a little bit of what you were feeling and what led to those this really big defensive game for you?
Hey, Lakers!
It's like your little brothers start talking trash to you. So you start talking trash back, to be honest. So DK and Big said something. So,
What did they say?
We'll keep it in the house. It's all good.
Two sacks, a really big interception. Can you talk a little bit about just the extra amount of passion that it seems like you played with today?
Honestly, I just felt like, we had a lot of guys out. We have a lot of, playmakers out, AD and Matt and Coop and Ashawn and, you know what I mean? So, I wanted to try to provide a spark for the team and help us find a win.
Felt a little bit short. How are you feeling right now?
I mean, it's frustrating. It's unfortunate. Obviously, you want to get a win. It is what it is.
What was kind of going on that last drive, Bobby, where they were able to move the ball down the field and you guys weren't able to hold them to 3? They obviously didn't score the winning touchdown.
They just made some plays, man. They drew up some good plays. Gino found his receivers, found his targets, and you got to get hats off to them.
Did you talk to any? I know you said before the game you didn't know what was going to happen. Did you talk to any former teammates or coaches before the game?
Yeah, they came up and said what's up. Said their respect. Obviously, it's bigger than football at the end of the day. So, a lot of people came up and said what's up, and I show love, but a lot of backing up.
And then after the game, it looked like kind of one by one they came over to again pay respect.
Yeah, at the end of the day, during the game we compete, and after the game, regardless of the outcome, they're still my brothers over there. So, everybody came and said what's up, and I showed respect.
All week you talked about trying to play every game even field, but having spent a decade over there, is there a point early on where it felt different playing against Seattle?
No, I'm a master at controlling my emotions. I know how to control my emotions very well, so I control them during the week and let them out during the game.
And how difficult is it knowing
1 minute
lose this game, but where this team is right now, being so close again?
It's difficult. Obviously, I'm a winner and I want to win, and so it didn't happen. So it's never really a good feeling when you don't win.
Just a couple more.
A game that you should have won, and you allowed a good team to make plays, and they did. So.
Sean, I know you're gonna.
30.
Sean McVay said at the final defensive series the go-ahead touchdown on them. He thought the pressure was good, but they schemed up some pick plays, and then sort of implied just on the back end there were some miscommunications. Kind of wonder if you could take us in a little bit more detail about that particular drive and that touchdown at the end.
I have no clue. I gotta watch the film. I'll tell you on Wednesday or something, or whenever it is. Yeah, cover and stuff.
That's Bobby Wagner after the game. Kirk, I have questions about I need to watch the film. I have media-related questions with that. We'll talk about the game coming up, too. Raiders in town here 4 days from tonight at SoFi Stadium. We will get into all of that. Plus, you'll hear from John Wolford. You'll hear from Sean McVay. Lots more to get to on the Coors Light postgame show on the ESPNLA Rams Radio Network.
Thank you. 710 ESPN is giving you a chance to win $1 million.
$1 Million Mondays.
$1 Million Mondays. Listen every Monday during football season to Travis and Sliwa, Mason and Ireland, and Sedano and Cap. All you have to do is make a super prediction.
And you can win $1 million.
And you can score tickets to a game at SoFi for just playing on $1 Million Mondays.
$1 Million Mondays.
710 ESPN.
Hey, Rams fans, Travis Rogers here. You have got to get the new ESPNLA app. In fact, let's go down to the locker room and get a little help.
What's up, Rams fans? This is Matthew Stafford. React to the Rams on the new ESPNLA app.
This is Cooper Kupp of the Los Angeles Rams. Listen to all your Rams talk on the ESPNLA app.
You are just one tap away from Rams All Access. Travis and Slee, Mason and Ireland, and Sedano and Cap. Download it now on the App Store or Google Play.
Everyone credit through Subaru Motor Finance. Model code PRA-01. One at this payment. P924-6913.
Hi, Sarah. I'm sorry.
On the ESPNLA Rams Radio Network.
Coors Light, keeping Southern California chill
All season long.
all the highlights, all the numbers. Coach McVay's press conference.
Hi, this is
Game show kicks off.
Whose house? Rams house.
This is the Coors Light postgame show, live at Hollywood Park Casino. Hollywood Park Casino. Elevate your game.
Now,
Here's Travis Rogers and Kirk Morrison.
27-23 is the final score from SoFi Stadium. The Seahawks beat the Rams. The Rams have dropped 6 in a row. They are 3-9. And Kirk, they get a chance to break that 6-game losing streak here pretty darn quickly. They'll be right back here in just a handful of days. They play the Las Vegas Raiders on Thursday night. So obviously this season is what it is at 3-9. But what do you do all of a sudden when you got to play a game here in a little bit more than about 3.5 days? You got to go do it all over again.
Yeah, you got to put it behind you, and move on. And I always say that the standalone game gives you a different mindset anyway, because everybody's watching. Everybody's watching that Monday night game, Thursday night, Sunday night games on right now between Dallas and Indianapolis. So for me, I've always said the standalone games, you'll find the energy, and that's where I think the Rams will find that time. And plus, you're playing against the Raiders. It's going to be
they're going to bring their fans.
You got to bring the fans. Obviously, this is an old rivalry battle, old school battle of Los Angeles back in the day, where these two teams used to play in LA. But it'll be a fun matchup, and if you're a competitor, you get another opportunity. I know I've had different coaches would always tell me early on is that you're guaranteed every single year. You're guaranteed. This year, you're guaranteed 17 games.
Yep.
You are. I don't care what you think about. You're guaranteed 17 games. Now it's up to you if you want to play more.
Exactly.
It's up to everybody in this room. If you want to play more games, guess what? We have to do what it takes to earn the right to play more games. But no matter what, 17 games is all you get this year. Make them count. Make them count.
And they're going to have to go out there and do it against a team that's playing much better than they have through most of the season. Raiders are on a 3-game winning streak.
Yeah.
The Raiders' record was abysmal through the first 2.5 months of the season. They were a bad football team. They're not a bad football team right now. They still make a lot of mistakes. They still do some things that make you scratch your head, but that is a team that's got a lot of talent. That's a team that, while they're in trouble, they're not out of it. They still have a lot to play for. So, and like you mentioned, of course, Raider fans here in Los Angeles are, shall we say, abundant. Yes. So I think you're going to see a pretty good game on Thursday night between these two teams.
No, I do too. I think that it's going to be a fun matchup. Josh McDaniels, Sean McVay. Think about it. I believe that Josh McDaniels maybe was kind of like sort of the first Sean McVay.
Yeah.
Sort of a little bit. I mean, he was the, offensive coordinator with Tom Brady in New England and part of some of those Super Bowl championships. And to think that, you'll see these two guys go back and forth on Thursday. It's a great opportunity. And look, the Raiders still feel like they've put themselves in the conversation now in the AFC because of some shakeup. And the Rams right now have put themselves in an opportunity to play spoiler. There's 5 games left now for the Rams. 5 games left to go out and honestly see who they are, but obviously go out and just go play football. Today was like the first time, too, Travis, that I did notice watching the game. I saw guys having fun. The offense looked fun.
Yes.
Guys rooting for each other. But I think there was a sense of stress early in the season that I think it was similar to, I remember watching The Last Dance. I remember during the pandemic.
Yep.
It was one of the Michael Jordan, Chicago Bulls documentary. And you could see the amount of stress on that basketball team trying to go for that second three-peat, right? Or the first, whatever three-peat it was. But how much it was like the expectation of they had to do it. And it was like once you won it, you didn't have that same feeling of accomplishment because you were supposed to do it. And if you didn't, that's where the fear came from. And I thought the Rams played like that earlier in the season. There was a fear that they didn't want to mess up. I thought it was a situation of they were just trying to flip the switch. But I feel like they were so caught up into trying to live up to the expectations instead of just playing football. Today was the first time I saw they played free.
for all the wrong reasons, but I agree. It felt like, well, okay, now that we are officially out of this,
right.
now that we know that, they're not going to rip off 7-8 wins to end the season, that you're not going to find your way back into the playoff picture, that,
correct.
Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson and Matthew Stafford and Aaron Donald aren't going to play. It's almost like, let's just go play football and see what happens. So let's go out there and play loose and play fast and maybe take some chances and see what happens. And knowing that the offense is able to put up a point here and there makes a big difference too, because today was really the first time where you felt like, hey, if they get the ball back, they might actually have a chance to score, whereas before it was you just have to hope that you can prevent the other team from scoring. But today you did feel like, not that they're going to go put 45 points on the board, but that they did get to 23. It's the first time since week 2 they've had more than 20 points.
Yeah, no, I thought that they played one of their better offensive games. I love the way that they ran the football. I love the way that they got everybody involved. I love the up-tempo, the spunk. Now, look, there are some things that – look, Seattle's a pretty good defensive football team. They're going to make their plays. But I thought the Rams ultimately made more plays. They just had a couple of mistakes here and there. And in a game where you're down so many starters, you don't have that room for error, right? You don't have that where you can mess up a game. And look, I love this part of the National Football League as I look at the whole entire landscape, right? I looked at Patrick Mahomes and – the Kansas City Chiefs, they lost a football game today, okay? The 49ers, they won a football game, but they lost their quarterback, right? The Baltimore Ravens, they lost their quarterback, but they won a football game. It's a crazy, crazy game.
Until the playoffs start, Kirk, I'm just going to go with the assumption nobody knows anything.
Nobody, you don't know nothing.
Let's just wait until we get to the playoffs, and then we'll try to figure out what's going to happen from there. We'll hear from Rams quarterback John Wolford when we come back. That's straight ahead on the Coors Light postgame show on 710 ESPN.